sabres being rattled at the moment about overseas buyers in China.
Yes, I think probably the most significant one for the farming perspective is Silver Fern Farms, and their idea at the moment, concept at the moment, that the Chinese will buy 50% of them. I think the price is particularly good. I was very pleased to see that they valued it 250 million for half of it, so put the company at 500 million, which I think is about right. It's an awful lot better idea than the idea which was floated about 10 years ago for a stock and station company to form a joint venture with Silver Fern Farms to have a pasture to plate concept. That just was so naff that it was unbelievable.
Yeah, well, it sort of trembled, but it didn't ever get off the
The real scary part about it was the farmers actually voted for it. Somehow the numbers came up that 69% or 70% actually voted in favour of it. And I spoke to quite a few farmers and they said, well, I said, you're clutching at straws, you're supposed to be the only ones we've got. And I said, well, I don't really think so. But fortunately, thankfully, the banks turned them down. And it was the biggest saviour. I think it's the best thing the banks ever did for the New Zealand farming industry. As I said, this idea is completely crazy. It's just not going to add value to anyone. But this concept of forming an alliance, there's so many things that are positive for it. Yes, in an ideal world, the cooperative would continue to be owned by the farmers and they'd have had no debt to the banks and there would be no trade barriers and TPP or TTP, whatever it was, should not have been a problem anyway because there would be no barriers to trade anywhere. That is the ideal world, but that's not going to happen.
In an ideal world.
That's not going to happen. And not many countries followed New Zealand's example of doing away with subsidies anyway, farming subsidies anyway. So getting back to the Silver Fern Farm thing, you have an ability to take out your debt and replace it with a shareholding who will want a return on their money, so there's no doubt about that either. But this opens the doors to massive markets. Now, we've got to realise that and PPCs, or Silver Fern Farms, are big in sheep meats, and China's got the biggest sheep flock in the world. So it makes, and obviously they eat it all because they're not big exporters. I think they export about 5,000 tonnes out of the amount of money they have. They've got 225 million sheep, which is far bigger than anywhere else in the world put together. So from a product mix point of view, it is really, really good, and they can sort of move them right through seamlessly, right through the chain of business over there. And the Chinese have been in business for a long time, and there is nothing better than having people distributing your product who know the language, know the distribution, know the market completely. And so from that side of the coin, Silver Fern Farms have done a very, very good deal to align themselves with a very, very, very major player in food. And it's only a 50% stake. It's not a 51% stake. It's a 50% stake, which still at least nominally gives the local board directors equal say in what's going to happen, which is good to see. It doesn't solve some of the underlying problems of the meat industry. There's too many plants, they're not appropriately placed around the countryside. But the alternative for that, where we're going to have a Fonterra type system for the meat industry, where the two companies are going to cuddle up together and we're going to have one marketing chain, that was even naffer than the first idea. So,
yeah, I was going to ask you about that.
No, that was serious lunatic stuff. And it just wasn't going to work. But at the time, the dairy industry, Fonterra, had been going very, very well, and said, well, why haven't we got a red meat industry doing what the dairy industry is doing through Fonterra? Well, slightly different products. Fonterra dealing with a product that has to be processed within 24 hours. End of question. Otherwise it goes off, they have to throw it away. So you have to have the appropriate plants, and you have to have a very organised structure, whether it be them, Westland or Tatua. You have to have a very regular system to handle the product coming through. Meat companies are not like that. It rains, farmers are, oh no, I'll put some more weight on those lambs. Suddenly goes dry, they all want to kill their lambs. And so you get this waves of product going through, and the meat companies, to their defence, have to look after that. And so it's a very, very different situation altogether. So that's why the all-in, all things to everyone cooperative was just never going to work. They were just brainless. I think we could have gone down the line of the wine industry as a model for the meat industry. I think that would have been very successful. But that probably won't happen now either, because of if this deal goes together between Silver Fern Farms and the Chinese.
Brent, thank you very much indeed.
You're welcome.